What's up guys, Uwe here. So for this video, we'll talk about the recent upgrades done on the Hilux. So the suspension lift and as well as the new wheel set. We'll also talk about things that you should do when you're trying to fit a larger tire or a similar setup with mine. And do you need to replace your UCA? What else? My initial review, the price, and etc. So let's begin with the suspension. Alright, so for the suspension, we have installed the toughdog 9-way adjustable foam cell shocks, which provide the Hilux a 2-inch lift. So as the name implies, it's adjustable, so it has a settings of 1 to 9. So 1 being the softest and 9 being the hardest. And it also has the foam cell technology, which greatly reduces or almost prevents aeration on the oil on the shocks. And yeah, the shocks itself has a 40mm internal bore, and then a 60mm external casing, and then an 18mm chrome plated rod inside. And yeah, for a front, we have installed a coil spring for a no bull bar, no winch setup at front. So it has a part number of TDC 983 if I'm not mistaken. Of course, if you have a winch or a bull bar or both, you'll have a different coil spring installed underneath there. And then for the rear, same shocks, but we did not replace the whole lift assembly. We just added one lift so that it'll have a 2-inch lift at the rear. So yeah, as mentioned previously on the previous video, it was installed, or I got it from Northside Auto Garage. So it was priced at 66,000 pesos. So that's pretty much it with the suspension. Let's talk about the new wheel set. Alright, so for the new wheel set, I got myself an SCS Gen 5. So it's a 17 by 8.5 inches wheel. It has a -10 offset, and the PCD is 6 by 139. And the internal bore right here fits on all Toyota, like the Hilux and the Fortuner. What else? The color is gloss gunmetal, and then for the tires, it's wrapped in 285 70 R17 BF Goodrich KO2 all-terrain tires. So yeah, this BF Goodrich KO2 is a 10-ply rating with a load range E, and it has a 3-ply sidewall. So very good for off-roading. So you could take it on like rock rolling, tough terrain. It won't easily damage the sidewall since it's a 3-ply. Unlike with my previous all-terrain tires, the Falcon Wildpeak AT3W, it only has 2-ply sidewall. But what Falcon did with that one, at the end they folded again the ply, so it becomes a 4-ply sidewall at this part and near the bead. So that's what they did with the Falcon. And of course, this one is a bigger setup compared with my last one, which was only a 30.6 overall diameter, and this one is now like a 32.7 inches overall diameter. So we gained somewhere around 1 inch of ground clearance with this new wheel setup. Yeah, it's 2 inches more from the previous setup, but once installed, we only gain half of what we gained from the overall diameter for the ground clearance. So yeah, white lettering, made in the USA. I got this wheel set second hand, so it's not brand new. It was priced at 97,000 pesos. If you're trying to buy a new set, like the same wheels and same size of the tire, BF Goodrich KO2, it will be priced around 140,000 pesos. Because the BF Goodrich, same size, is priced around 20,000 each. And for the set of Gen 5, it's somewhere around 66 or something, if I remember correctly. So yeah, a brand new set of this will cost you around 140,000 pesos or more. Also, the SCS Gen 5 wheels requires a tapered lug nuts. That's why I bought a set of Race 17 hex M12 by 1.5 lug nuts with the lock nut like this one. So yeah, that's pretty much it with the wheel and tire setup. Let's talk about how to fit a large tire or a similar setup with mine on a Hilux or Fortuner. Alright, so now what are the things that you should do if you want to fit a large wheel size in your wheel well? So this will be more specific to Hiluxes and Fortuner, but if you have a different model, make sure to do your own research. But all of them will pretty much have a little modification for you to fit a larger wheel size. So yeah, to simplify things for Fortuners and Hiluxes, if you're using a wheel that has a lower offset, like for example a positive 12 to a negative 10 like this one, and you want to use a wide tire like a 285, 295, 275, somewhere in that range, you will have to do a body mount shop, or BMC for short. So basically the BMC, they'll chop off some material from your body mount right over here. And then also in my case, they also have to modify the fender liner. So up front, they remove some OEM screws and clips underneath the bumper for them to pull the fender liner a little forward. And then also right over here, they also chop some material off the bumper. So at the back, they also remove some pinch weld material underneath this fender liner so that they could push it a little backwards. And lastly, they also chop off some material from the step board. So those are the things that they did for me to fit a 285 70 R17 tires with the wheels that has a 17 overall diameter by 8.5 width with a negative 10 offset. So if you're using your stock Conquest mags and your tire size is 275, 65 R18, you don't have to do a BMC, but you'll have to change to an aftermarket control arm, upper control arm or UCA, or use some spacers. And I think you'll have to modify your fender liners a bit. But yeah, depending on your wheels, the offset, and the width of your tires, it will be a different scenario. But if you'll plan it to do the same setup, same offset, same diameter, same tire width, pretty much this is all you need to do for them to fit. For you to fit a 32.7 to 33 inches tire. Any bigger than that, you'll be modifying a lot. So yeah, that's pretty much it on the things that you'll do to fit a 32 or a 33 inches tire. So it really depends on what's your offset, your tire width, and etc. Alright, so on to the next question. Should you change to an aftermarket upper control arm? So first of all, on my scenario, I'm still sticking with the stock UCA of the Hilux Conquest. So first of all, we're only doing 2 inches of lift, so we're not really throwing off the suspension geometry by a lot. And then the stock UCA is not hitting the coil spring or any part of the new suspension or the new shocks that we have installed in here. And then another reason is that the tires is not rubbing against the upper control arm, and it's not rubbing against any part underneath the wheel well after the BMC and modifications done on the fender liner. And lastly, when I bought it to the alignment shop, they were still able to align it within the OEM tolerance or OEM specs. So those are the reason why I'm still sticking with the stock upper control arm. So the only time that you should change your upper control arm to an aftermarket one is when your wheels is rubbing against the upper control arm or is still hitting any part underneath your wheel well after the modifications like the BMC and modifications done on the fender liner or any part underneath here. And also if your stock UCA is hitting your new suspension like the coil spring and whatnot. And lastly, if they were not able to align it within OEM tolerances or OEM spec. And also, before I forget, if you're trying to, if you're trying to fit a much larger overall diameter tires or a much larger wheel size. So those are the times that you should swap or change to an aftermarket control arm. Alright, so now I'll be sharing you the mistakes that I've done when lifting this Hilux. So the first one is doing the BMC first before buying the new wheel and tire setup. So it should be the other way around. You should buy your wheels and tires first before doing the BMC. So in that way, they'll only be basing or they'll be only chopping materials based on the size that you have bought, the wheel size that you have bought. In my case, they pretty much chopped everything that they could for me to fit a 285 tires or a 32 overall diameter tires. And then for the second mistake, I'm not really sure with this one, so I would like to know your thoughts, especially those who are really familiar with suspension, is not changing the lip spring at the rear. So as you know, I have an ARB Raw Summit Step Tow Bar and as well as a Top Lip Ultimate Bed Cover. So their total combined weight will be somewhere around less than 100 kilograms. And before lifting the Hilux, I measured the ground clearance of this hitch receiver right here and compared it after lifting the Hilux. So I only got around 1.5 inches of clearance. I'm expecting 2 inches because I've done a 2-inch lift on the Hilux, but I only got 1.5. So I thought it's because of the constant weight of the bumper and the bed cover. So constant weight meaning the weight of the accessories on your vehicle that you do not remove. They're fixated on your vehicle. Like for example, the bumper and this bed cover, or if you have a canopy, that's also contributing to your constant weight. So you should match your lip springs based on the weight you have put on your vehicle or the accessories, the weight of the accessories you have put on your vehicle. Like on this case, I should have gone for a lip spring that supports a constant load or constant weight of 0 to 300 kilograms. So that's why it's pretty important to plan your rig. Make sure to put your accessories first before you put your suspension. So in that way, they'll put the correct springs for your rig. Or really, just commit to your plan and then put your accessories after lifting the vehicle. And before I forget, I'm just gonna mention a couple of things. So have your suspension settled first before you do your wheel alignment. So in my case, I just drove around 200 kilometers before I have it aligned. And then second, if you're gonna do a BMC, you'll encounter an issue with your 360 camera, specifically the screen that will show you your yellow guidelines. So since they have done a BMC, they have to disconnect the battery for a few hours since they're doing some welding for safety purposes. And after reconnecting the battery, the yellow guidelines on the 360 camera are not appearing. And there's also a warning on that specific screen. So there's a certain procedure or a certain process for you to reset that one. As far as I remember, you have to lock your wheel to the leftmost and to the rightmost. I forgot the specific process, but I'll just show it here on the screen. But on my case, I just drove around for 200 kilometers, then the issue suddenly disappeared by itself. So the yellow lines are now showing and the warning is not showing anymore on the specific screen. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Some notes to take after lifting the Hilux. And finally, on the initial review of the toughdog 9-way adjustable foam cell shocks. But before I give my review, let's ask my mates Jello and JL who has the same suspension on their Hiluxes. Alright. Yun. So, kamusta yung toughdog suspension sa Hilux mo?
Okay. Ito kasi bro, since February 2021 pa nakakabit sa akin. Siyempre, matrail tayo ng mga light trail lang naman, ganyan. Kailangan natin ng mga medyo mataas ng konti, 40mm. So, swak na swak siya, bro. Lalo na kung bibilisan mo ng konti sa mga malubak, talaga naman mararamdaman mo yung ganyan. Mararamdaman mo yung, yung binayaran mo. Yeah. Talagang okay ang toughdog para sa akin kasi ilang years ko nagamit, 3 years na rin. Hindi pa rin siya, walang tagas, wala akong mararamdaman na pinagkaiba, ganyan. Yun nga lang, tama ka, yung parang kapag ang settings niya sa unahan ay naka-1 lang, ganyan. Tapos medyo bumilis ka sa lubak, nararamdaman mo talaga yung rebound Totoo yun. Pero so far, yun lang naman yung napansin kong disadvantage niya. Sa tagal ng gamit ko siya ngayon. Pero kung tatanungin mo, talagang toughdog talaga, bro. Toughdog. Sulit.
Ayan. So nagpalit tayo ng toughdog with 9-way adjustable suspension. So yung setup niya is front coil spring and front shocks. Tapos sa likod is magpalit tayo ng shocks plus add a lift setup. So malaki yung improvement niya in terms of ride comfort. Mainly compared sa stock. Mainly because of mas malaki yung diameter ng toughdog suspension. And iba yung spring rate niya. So I think yun yung two major reasons why the suspension improved versus the stock. So nagpakabit tayo ng toughdog suspension last December 2023. So for about 1.5 year naka-stock suspension tayo. So sure na mafe-feel mo yung difference between the stock tapos yung new suspension. So happy dahil nag-upgrade tayo ng suspension.
And mas naging comfortable.
Ayan, no more tagtag. Yeah.
Alright, so thank you Bro Jello and JL for giving your review on your toughdog suspension on your Hiluxes. So now onto my review, but before I mention that one, I just want to quickly mention why did I choose toughdog on my Hilux. So first of all, toughdog is an Australian brand and we pretty much know that Australia produces good quality shocks. And second, the adjustable foam cell shocks has been in the market for a long time already, so you know it's tested, durable, and reliable. And third, it offers a 4-year warranty. The only other brand that I know that offers a 4-year warranty is the Ironman. The other brands only offer less than or 3 or less than years of warranty. And lastly, it's adjustable, so I could easily fine-tune it depending on the road condition or trail condition. So those are the reasons why I chose toughdog over the other brands.
And lastly, just for reference, I have driven with this setup or with this suspension for about 2 months already. So I have driven it to Lake Tabeo and Benguet, and then also in Tanay Rizal, and as well as in the Mambog River Trail in Maragondon, Cavite.
And now onto my review. So first of all, on-road driving, there's really a huge difference, especially if you set it to 3-2-1 front and rear. So on concrete roads, you won't feel the concrete joints that much anymore, unlike with the stock suspension. So it's a less noticeable. It's still there, there's still a little amount, but not that noticeable compared with the stock suspension. Also on uneven roads or bumps and whatnot, it's less harsh, unlike with before that you always feel like the bump stop on the suspension always hits. So now it doesn't feel like that anymore, and you could really go a little bit faster on those kinds of bumps. Especially here in the Philippines, we have a lot of roads that are not that good. So yeah, generally it's less harsh and a little bit more comfortable compared with the stock. Especially if you set it to 3-2-1, the soft setting, there's a huge difference compared with the stock. The only problem or the only cons that I notice, if you set it to 2 or 1 in the front, if you're going to bumps, like for example in my case, I always notice it when I'm going a little bit fast on a speed bump, like somewhere around 15 kilometers per hour to 20 kilometers per hour. The rebound is a little bit harsh. So, you know, if you pass the peak of the speed bump and then the suspension will be about to go down, the rebound is a little harsh. It springs back immediately after compressing. So to counter that one, I always set it, when I'm driving on road, I always set it to at least 3, so that I won't feel the harsh rebound. So that's the only con that I have noticed, as Jello mentioned earlier. So yeah, off-road driving, if we have noticed a big difference on road, there's also a big difference in off-road driving. So it's pretty much more comfortable. I could go a little bit faster on the trail, so I don't need to crawl on very rough parts or very rocky parts. So yeah, overall it's really a huge difference with the stock suspension. So yeah, that's a quick review or my initial review on the toughdog 9-way adjustable foam cell shocks. So I hope you find this video helpful, and if you really like this one, don't forget to like and share this video. And if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing, because we'll be having more contents, car-related contents, car camping, DIY, detailing, reviews and whatnot in the future. So guys, thanks for watching and see you on the next vid. Bye!